Charlotte has long since returned to PC, assisting Danny in killing Cyrus. General Hospital spoilers. The icy waters of the Port Charles harbor shimmered beneath the moonlight, casting eerie reflections on the docks. Charlotte Cassadine stood at the edge, the familiar scent of salt and iron filling her senses. It had been years since she'd left, vanishing into the shadows of Europe under her father's orders. Now she was back, and there was only one name on her mind: Cyrus Renaud. Across town, Danny Morgan tightened his grip on the old revolver hidden beneath his jacket. His mother, Sam McCall, had raised him to stay clear of the dark path his father, Jason Morgan, had walked. But tonight, there was no turning back. Cyrus Renaud had to die, and Danny wasn't alone in ensuring it happened. The return of a Cassadine. Charlotte had spent the last few years under Victor Cassadine's tutelage, learning things no young woman should ever have to. Espionage, infiltration, and, if necessary, elimination. The Cassadine blood in her veins burned with the desire for retribution. Her return to Port Charles had been quiet, a ghost slipping into familiar territory unnoticed. She had kept her distance, watching from the shadows as Cyrus Renaud continued his reign of terror. She knew she couldn't take him down alone. That's when she found Danny. Danny Morgan had grown up idolizing his father, despite Jason's absence for most of his childhood. But when Jason vanished, presumed dead, Danny had become obsessed with avenging the pain his family suffered at the hands of men like Cyrus. Sam tried to keep him away from the life of crime, but his bloodline was undeniable. With his mother distracted by a new case, Danny had been planning something drastic. Then Charlotte found him. "You're too reckless," Charlotte had whispered to him the first time she saw his plans sprawled across his desk: blueprints, weapons, exit routes. "If you go at this alone, you'll be dead before you take a single shot." Danny had clenched his jaw, staring at the Cassadine heiress. "And what do you suggest?" She smirked. "We do this together." A calculated plan. Cyrus Renaud was untouchable by the law, his reach extending into every corner of Port Charles. His recent acquisition of General Hospital had made him nearly invincible. A criminal mastermind, operating under the guise of philanthropy, manipulating doctors, police officers, and even members of the Corinthos organization. Charlotte and Danny spent weeks planning. The hospital was Cyrus's safest fortress, but it was also his greatest weakness. Too many moving parts, too many people who despised him, and too many chances for someone like him to slip up. Their opportunity came when Cyrus scheduled a private meeting in his office on the 10th floor after hours. No guards, no security, just arrogance. Charlotte procured the key card to the staff entrance, courtesy of a nurse with a grudge against Cyrus. Danny secured their weapons and disguises. Everything was set. The night of reckoning. The hospital halls were eerily silent as they moved through the corridors. Charlotte led the way, dressed in scrubs, pushing an empty gurney. Danny followed, wearing a stolen security badge. Their plan was simple: infiltrate, eliminate, and disappear before anyone knew what happened. Charlotte swiped the key card, unlocking the door to Cyrus's office. He was seated behind his desk, unaware of the impending doom. His eyes barely flickered up when they entered. "If you're here to kill me," he mused, "I'd at least appreciate the courtesy of introductions." Danny stepped forward, gun raised. "You already know who we are." Cyrus leaned back, smirking. "Ah, Jason's boy. And a Cassadine. An interesting pair." Charlotte's voice was cold. "No more games, Renaud." Cyrus exhaled, shaking his head. "Children playing with fire. Do you really think this ends with me? You're making a mistake." Danny's finger tightened on the trigger. But before he could fire, Cyrus lunged, knocking the gun from his hand. The room erupted into chaos. Charlotte moved swiftly, landing a sharp blow to Cyrus's throat, but he was stronger than they had anticipated. Danny scrambled for the gun, but Cyrus grabbed him, slamming him against the desk. Charlotte reached for her knife, but Cyrus twisted her arm, sending it clattering to the floor. Cyrus laughed, his breath ragged. "You think you're your father, Danny? You don't have what it takes." But Danny did. With a grunt, he drove his knee into Cyrus's gut, giving Charlotte the opening she needed. She grabbed the gun and fired. A single shot. Cyrus stumbled back, blood spreading across his chest. He sank into his chair, coughing, eyes wide with disbelief. You. Charlotte stood over him. This is for all the lives you've destroyed. Danny stepped forward, looking into the eyes of the man who had tormented his family. He raised the gun once more, ensuring Cyrus Renault would never rise again. A final shot echoed through the room. Silence. Escape and aftermath. They wiped the scene clean, slipping out the way they came. By the time the hospital staff discovered Cyrus Renault's lifeless body, Charlotte and Danny were long gone. The next morning, the headlines screamed of his assassination. Speculation ran rampant, but no one suspected them. They had done what others had only dreamed of. In the shadows of Port Charles, Charlotte and Danny knew one thing: their war was far from over. And together, they were unstoppable.